Minecraft's mob votes are a lively time of the year, taking the community by storm as millions of players around the world eagerly await the reveal of each new mob candidate so they can take to Twitter and Reddit to pointlessly argue. It's undoubtedly fun and exciting, but there are some big problems. You see, not everybody is a winner, and when it comes to the vote, it's a popularity contest, with most players voting for the first mob that catches their eye rather than weighing up the pros and cons of each. Furthermore, the losers of the mob vote are ultimately forgotten, never to be seen again, or were supposed to be added years ago, but have seemingly been ignored since. Oh, and let's not forget the blatant issues with the past mob votes, as well as the worrying state of the current mob vote. First, let's venture back to the earlier mob votes. Now, I'm not going to comment on 2017's disastrous mob vote just yet, where some of the coolest concepts in Minecraft history were banished from the game in favor of the Phantom, but instead let's first talk about the mostly forgotten and overlooked 2018 biome vote. You see, in 2018, a biome revamp between the desert, taiga, and savanna was held. The taiga ended up winning and was updated a few months later in 2019. Now, Mojang learned from the 2017 mob vote and instead stated that the losing biomes and its supporting features will not be removed from existence forever, but rather will be later added to the game in future updates. The desert was promised to get palm trees, meerkats, and oases. The savanna was promised to get these cool baobab trees, termites, and ostriches. Now, both of these losing biomes had quite a significant amount of content in them. Our current mob vote results in only one mob added to the game, but the biome vote included multiple mobs, new trees, and of course, a general biome revamp. This was a great decision by Microsoft, and it made a lot of players happy to know that this time the losers wouldn't be forever disavowed from the likes of Minecraft like the losers of the 2017 mob vote. Yet here we are, 4 years later, and neither the desert or the savanna have seen a single of the promised changes. There is still absolutely no word about them from Microsoft as well, meaning there is unlikely to be any changes in the near future. 2019 also had a biome vote, which the mountains won and were later updated in the Caves and Cliffs update. However, this time, the runner-up of the 2019 vote, the swamp, also got updated in a later update, 1.19, but the Badlands promising tumbleweeds, vultures, and a new type of flower-like cactus have yet to be updated. So, why did the swamp biome, the runner-up of the 2019 mob vote, receive an update before the other two biomes from the 2018 biome vote? It's quite a big shame, as biomes such as the desert have been dry, no pun intended, for well over a decade now, and in my opinion is in the most dire need of a facelift compared to the multitude of other biomes. Oh, and let's not forget how well received the new swamp biome was. But regardless of my own thoughts, where's the consistency? Mojang never did state an exact date, time, or order the losers of the biome votes would be added, but going on 4 years now makes it seem like they have mostly been forgotten. Mostly forgotten, unlike my goal of hitting 500k subs by the end of the year. Be sure to not disappoint me, and subscribe if you haven't already. No pressure. Anyways, the infamous 2020 mob vote also had one mob in particular, the Iceologer, which unfortunately lost to a squid which doesn't even glow unless you have a mod. And while at least this time the mobs aren't banished from the game forever, they are still shelved indefinitely, with it seeming very unlikely that they will be added in the near future. A similar story is evident for the 2021 mob vote, with the losing candidates seemingly left to gather dust indefinitely. So what's my point? Well, why can't we get a proper update order, or at least an idea of when we can expect such features to be included in future updates? Could there at least be some consistent order to their additions, so we won't be left wondering why the 2019 biome vote runner-up got added before the 2018 one? And why do we only get to vote for one mob? The biome votes were cool because they were like multiple votes in one, and included mobs and other new elements in a package. But nowadays, with us just getting 3 extremely niche and specific mobs to vote on, it feels quite low effort in comparison. The mob votes should also adopt the same logic as the biome votes, where the runners-up get added to the game eventually. Maybe a better solution would be to add all the mobs, but instead give us a small selection of abilities or mechanics to vote on instead. The Rascal is a mob which you have to find 3 times, and then it will give you an item. If this is anything like majority of Minecraft structure loot, it will rapidly become completely useless to players with slightly decent gear, as the loot won't remain valuable past a certain point. So, why don't Mojang instead confirm that this mob will be added to the game eventually, and then give us 3 mechanics or abilities to vote on, as well as allowing us to vote on the exact order the mob will be added? For example, the first option could be that it gives players a backpack or some rare uncraftable storage-based item. The second option could be that it guides players to dungeons or spawners. The third option could be that you can tame it and make it follow you around and carry items, like a little storage and item carry minion. This would be so useful for mining. Then you can vote on the order you want the mob to be added to the game as well. The other two mob candidates, the Sniffer and the Tough Golem, would also get such options to vote on, and then eventually we would get all three mobs in the game with unique community voted mechanics rather than shelving the losers forever. Is it just me, or do majority of the new mob vote candidates feel boring? In 2017, every mob seemed like a cool and dangerous mini-boss of which you wouldn't want to encounter without proper gear or preparation. They were scary, intimidating, and they were presented as so. The mobs which were in the 2017 vote were the kind of mobs players had been clickbaiting for years. Mob D, or the Wildfire, looked like a king or boss blaze, and you can see that almost 10 years ago, and still even today, players were creating this concept themselves and modding it into the game. I don't think you'll find somebody clickbaiting a glowing squid which doesn't glow though. The 2017 candidates were scary, attention-grabbing, and very unique. Yes, even the Phantom was unique, as up until that point, we didn't have a bird-like flying overworld terror in the game. Then in 2020 and 2021, besides the Iceologer and the LA, all the other mobs showcased were quite boring. And this is a problem because it makes the mob votes feel especially lackluster, as not only are these candidates uninteresting, but would also be quite rare to encounter and thus do anything to you in game. Going back to 2020 as it's the biggest offender here, but the Moo Bloom and Glow Squid virtually did nothing in terms of new or interesting mechanics and would only be encountered or seen by players on occasion. These days, whenever you see a glow squid, you don't even bat an eye. The mobs we vote for should always be getting your attention, just like the Phantom, although the Phantom is mostly negative attention. So letting us vote on what the mobs would do, rather than which are included, would mean each mob is infinitely more valuable, interesting, and notable when playing the game. If the players knew exactly what the mobs would do, it would also resolve another problem the mob votes had. You see, Mojang aren't always super clear on what exactly the mobs do. Many players originally voted for the Glow Squid because they thought it would, well, actually glow in vanilla and potentially mesmerize you with some special effect. The showcase videos are always slightly misleading and unclear, which is why so many of the added features such as the Phantom and the Swamp Biome have led to immense disappointment and regret from players. Allowing players to vote on the mechanics would reduce the chance of such disappointment and regret, as the players have a far greater idea of what they are actually voting for. Maybe the teaser videos would be better done in actual Minecraft. This is still a problem in the 2022 mob vote as well, with most of the new mobs mechanics being quite underwhelming and leading players to speculate as best as they can as to what the mobs all do and which will be good to vote for. Regardless, the novelty of each will likely wear off extremely quickly. It seems almost all the new mobs we get to vote on now are passive and cosmetic, with the Iceologer being the only non-passive mob from the last 3 years' votes combined. That's 1 out of 9 mobs. Why don't we get an even split? Why not alternate the type of mob votes we get each year? 2020 could have been a passive mob vote, then 2021 hostile, and then this year back to passive again. The fact that all the newer mob votes seem to focus primarily on passive mobs is a big reason why they are all so forgettable and uninteresting compared to 2017, which hyped each candidate up as some dangerous boss with potentially rare drops. Not that it matters anyway, because to this day, I still haven't been able to participate in a mob vote. Up until this year, all the mob votes took place on Twitter during Minecon Live, only for a brief few hours. If you happen to, well, live on the other side of the world in, let's say, Australia, and for example have uni or other matters to attend to the next day, you probably can't stay up until 3 AM in the morning waiting to vote on a Minecraft mob which will lose to a glowing squid that doesn't even glow. I understand that the mob votes are tied to Minecraft Live and a part of its promotion, but would it be so bad to start the mob vote a bit earlier so that other time zones have the chance to participate in the vote? Let's say the vote started 10 or so hours before Minecon Live and ended during Minecon Live at its normal time, meaning it ran for, I don't know, 12 hours or so total. This would give almost all time zones the ability to vote, and would also serve as even more promotional hype for Minecon Live. A win-win scenario. Fortunately, this year things have changed, as instead of voting on Twitter, the vote would take place in-game, but only on Bedrock Edition. This year, the vote will also be open for 24 hours, allowing all time zones to partake, and you can even change your mind and resubmit your vote anytime during that period. The fact that the vote is taking place in-game is slightly worrying though, as only about a week ago when the mob vote was trialed by Microsoft, it, well, didn't go quite to plan. The server was hacked, spammed with various messages, spamming some random Discord, forever damaging the hearing of various children, as well as making the server completely unplayable. And the crazy thing is, these server nukes are very easy to use, as hacking on Bedrock is outstandingly easy. I won't go into too much detail, but Bedrock has many major issues relating to exploitation of the game, of which have been around for many years now and still have yet to be patched. It's seriously embarrassing how long such exploits have existed, but that's a story for another day. Now, whether Microsoft have learned from the mobvote beta and have worked to patch these vulnerabilities is up for debate. All I'll say is that if this happens on the actual mobvote day, well, it will be very, very interesting, that's for sure. Fortunately, you can also vote on the official Minecraft website and in the Minecraft launcher, so if the vote server goes down, there are backup options. But who's to say the website won't go down or something won't happen as well? Regardless, I have a feeling that this year's mob vote won't be so smooth. I know this video has seemed quite negative. Let's just remember that the mob votes are fun, and very few game devs give the player base such an opportunity, so kudos to Mojang and Microsoft for that. But would it hurt to improve them a bit? Let me know your thoughts in the comments and be sure to subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching.